Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be giving you my Sagittarius March 2018 horoscope forecast. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, people, first thing up is as far as March goes, the Sun will be in Pisces from the 1st until the 20th. So the 4th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, well, there may be a strong concentration of power, attention, focus put into compassion, idealism, imagination, and altruism, perhaps in home and family life at this time. It could be a time too where Sagittarius might be emphasizing having to deal with chaos and confusion, madness, and mayhem going on in the home and family life as well. This could be about a little bit of emphasis on confusion in terms of who Sagittarius is at the core at this time, and really being idealistic perhaps about the end of life and really what it has to offer Sagittarius as well. So anyway, next thing up is the Sun will be in Aries as far as March goes from the 20th until the 31st. So the 5th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, there could be very strong concentration of power, energy, focus, and attention put into assertiveness and aggression, courage and fortitude in matters pertaining to love, romance, children, even creative endeavors at this time. But at the same time, keep in mind that when the Sun is in Aries, it could bring more combative and confrontational energy, and that could come out, unfortunately, against children, and also people that might be prominent in your enjoyment in your love life. It could be a romantic partner, and maybe people that figure prominently, if any, that you share hobbies with, that you do hobbies with together. And also, I mean, the Sun in Aries, I mean, this is a lot. I mean, Sun in Aries, of course, the energy is very energetic at this time. So there might be a lot of this concentration of energy put into doing things that are very enjoyable, and they could even be sports related, and the energy level for these things might be much higher than they usually are. So anyway, and it could also shine the light also on matters really, I mean, as far as with children and with romance as well, and perhaps wanting to stand out and shine in creative endeavors. Anyway, next thing up is the full moon will be in Virgo on March 1st. So the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, Sagittarius might become full and tired, so to speak, of a hypercritical, judgmental, or pedantic supervisor, a dominant parent, which is often the father. It could be where perhaps a career-related goal that required much detail and analysis, and that was done with a lot of hard work and industry, might come to a culmination or conclusion at this time. It could be the end perhaps a Virgo related field, such as something like statistician or data entry. A health or nutrition field perhaps may come to a conclusion at this time. And it might be where you might become tired and full of maybe others maybe being critical, overly judgmental and critical of you, which might have an impact on your public image and reputation at this time as well. So anyway, next thing up is the new moon will be in Pisces on March 17th. So the 4th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, this could be about perhaps a new beginning, in which really you use a lot of idealism, altruism, compassion, perhaps with a family member. It could be a new, it could even be somebody that, yeah, that is a previous member, family member, an existing family member that you have a renewed relationship with, which you approach with much more compassion and self-sacrifice than usual. It could also be a time for new foundations, perhaps, that involve a lot of idealism, might even have spirituality, perhaps connected with them as well. It could be a time too where you might embark on a new Pisces-like project or endeavor that is done from the home, or you feel really at home with. And it could be something connected with the metaphysical, which of course can include astrology, could be chemistry, photography, something with imagery. It could be poetry, dancing, just to name a few, magic, illusion, something that might be Pisces related that you might start out of the home or you feel close at home with. So, or it might even be something that might be even with spirituality as well. So anyway, and on the negative side though, this could also be about a new period of something that's very confounding and confusing that might involve the home life, a family member, sometimes the less dominant parent, which is often the mother. It might even be a period where maybe it's something about your roots that are very confusing, that are in question, that might maybe begins around this time. So anyway, the next thing up is Mercury will be in Pisces as far as March goes from the 1st until the 6th. So the 4th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, there might be more idealistic thinking in regards to their family and in regards to the home life in general. And also too, this could be a period too where maybe communications with home, family members, people you feel close to home with might be more ambiguous and cryptic than they usually are. Keep in mind too that you might be a little bit easily deceived by people in your home life at this time than usual, and there might be more mental confusion and chaos maybe involving maybe who you actually are at the core. And it could be over also maybe matters with foundations and roots as well. And keep in mind too that Mercury is not just about communications, it's about other things as well, such as short journeys. So you might be involved with more short journeys and errands where you're maybe taking family members on short journeys, and maybe people you feel close to home with a lot of that Pisces like compassion, altruism, and empathy and self-sacrifice. So anyway, next thing up is Mercury will be in Aries as far as March goes from the 6th until the 31st. So the 5th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, this could be really where your communications, perhaps with romantic partners, children, perhaps people that you're involved with in enjoyment and with hobbies, creative endeavors with, might be more outspoken, assertive, and impetuous. You might speak more off the cuff in a very spontaneous and abrupt manner, in very outspoken manner at this time. This could also be about expressing perhaps original pioneering ideas with children and with romantic partners as well at this time. And the thing about this too is you might be more mentally impatient than usual, so it might be a time where you might become quicker to get a little bit irritated. Perhaps a family member, a child, a romantic partner, somebody that you are involved with enjoyment with, or with something with gamble people, and you might be involved even in speculation or even gambling with, that you might be a little bit more impatient and might wind up saying things that you might, regret or face repercussions later on. Keep in mind too that Mercury, as far as March goes, will be retro in Aries from the 23rd until the 31st. So at least there is likely to be a little bit more review before you speak during that time. So anyway, next thing up is Venus will be in Pisces as far as March goes from the 1st until the 6th. So the 4th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, this could be a time where Sagittarius needs to be careful, perhaps from maybe a beguiling or deceptive charm, perhaps from a family member or someone he or she feels close to home with. There could be more unrealistic spending at this time on matters pertaining to the home and family. It could even be getting in touch with your roots at this time. Maybe as well, keep in mind too that if Sagittarius, if you are unattached, this could be an ideal period. Hey, an idealistic Pisces, right? Venus being an ideal period, maybe where you might find a prospective significant other or romantic partner, and it could be somebody that may be introduced to you by somebody in your home or your family, or by someone you feel close to home with at this time. And it could be a sun, moon, or ascendant in Pisces, or somebody that you simply may embody Pisces-like characteristics. And also, this could be the enjoyment, perhaps, of Pisces-like things, such as the metaphysical, which includes astrology, and even just loafing, and even the enjoyment of relaxation and lethargy in the home at this time, or with people you feel close to home with. Anyway, next thing up is Venus will be in Aries as far as March goes, from the 7th until the 31st. So at this time, the 5th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sag, this could be about really some spontaneous and extemporaneous spending, perhaps on children, on a romantic partner, maybe even people that maybe you just involved with sports, recreational activities, things of enjoyment that you play games with. It could also be a time too for Sagittarius, if unattached, where this could be a very good period because you're talking about the 5th house of love and romance and Venus, which is associated with romance and relationships. Maybe to find the prospective significant other or romantic partner at this time. This could be somebody that might have the sun, moon, or ascendant in Aries, or simply somebody that embodies those characteristics. So, and this could also be about a love of things that are combative, perhaps with children, perhaps with a love or romantic partner at this time. This could be like wrestling or something, or boxing, or something along those lines. It could be either enjoying it as a sport, or watching it, or something so like that. So anyway, next thing up is Mars will be in Sagittarius as far as March goes, from the 1st until the 17th. So the 1st house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, well, Sagittarius might be more energetic, more active than usual at this time. Activities might involve something Sagittarius-like, such as sports, religion. It could be some outdoor activities, and really at this time too, Sagittarius also, I mean Sagittarius by itself, Sagittarius is a sign that could be very reckless and foolhardy, and could be very accident prone, but there could be even a greater propensity for this at that time, since we're talking about Mars as well, and the 1st house. So and being given this, the thing is that Sagittarius will probably be much more energetic at this time, and have more vitality, and also the libido can very likely increase at this time as well. Keep in mind though that Mars is also about surgery, so it might be a little greater propensity for having some surgery on something Sagittarius related, such as the hamstrings or thighs. So anyway, and it also too is that Sagittarius might put a lot more energy into making a good first impression on others, and perhaps expressing Sagittarius-like qualities, such as being jovial, jocular, and humorous, and really being very positive, expansive, and optimistic. So anyway, next thing up is Mars will be in Capricorn as far as March goes, from the 17th until the 31st. So the 2nd house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sag at this time. So at this time for Sagittarius, the situation perhaps with people where Sagittarius where they generate their income with, it might be more contentious and acrimonious than usual. And it could also be arguments with these people over responsibilities. And this could be a time where Sagittarius might become a little bit more irritated and exasperated at others that might be meddling with their possessions, and even if they're just, lifting something up lightly, it's time where Sagittarius might be a little bit more touchy and get aggravated over those things more so than usual. This could also be a time too where Sagittarius puts a lot of disciplined and consistent and serious energy into the accumulation of resources and possessions. And really, there's really energy maybe put into increasing one's self-worth at this time and their self-esteem, and perhaps doing so in a very Capricorn-like serious and methodical and consistent fashion at this time. And anyway, the next thing up is Jupiter will still be in Scorpio, so the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sag at this time. So at this time for Sagittarius, keep in mind, people, as I've stated in previous videos, that Jupiter can be paradoxical. It is very strongly benign and benevolent, but it can also have the tendency to enlarge and expand, and there's no exception here. This could be, in some cases, increased surreptitious and even nefarious activity going on behind the scenes. It might be even involving with hidden adversaries. I mean, you get that anyway, regardless of transit, but it could be even more emphasized when you're talking about Jupiter in Scorpio and you're talking about the 12th house as well. This could also be a period where Sagittarius might be really suppressing their exuberance and enthusiasm a little bit more than usual, and really holding back on maybe some deep and dark, profound philosophies. And given the fact it's going to be retro, as far as March goes from the 8th until the 31st, that's even going to really accentuate and emphasize that even more, I believe. This could also be a time, though, where Sagittarius on the positive side might be able to experience more luck and fortune, perhaps in unveiling hidden adversaries by going beyond the superficial and subterfuge. And it could also be about, in some isolated cases, and especially if Sagittarius, the few that might have one, it could be an enlargement of a mental illness. It could be something connected with Scorpio, like such as something with obsessive compulsive issues, or disorder or what have you. So anyway, too, this could also be about where Sagittarius can have luck and fortune in putting death, so to speak, figuratively speaking, to things that are limiting and restricting and discarding the frivolous. This could be a time for that at this time as well. So anyway, well, the next thing up is Saturn will still be in Capricorn at this time. So the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius might experience more restrictions and limitations in the financial arena and their possessions and resources, and even matters with self-esteem and self-worth, which can cause some Sagittarius Capricorn-like despondency and feeling melancholy. It could even be some kind of government restrictions or something from some high authority that might be putting a clamp on maybe Sagittarius in terms of making the money that they really want to make, and it might limit them to some degree. In some cases, this could be about Sagittarius perhaps taking care of somebody that is debilitated, perhaps at the place where they generate income. It could be some friend of theirs that maybe they work with, for example. So, and also could be about taking serious responsibility in monetary matters at this time, and really in doing things where they're showing some structure and discipline in that area, as well, as far as things of a monetary nature and resources and possessions. So anyway, next thing up is Uranus will still be in Aries, so the 5th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sag at this time. So for Sagittarius, well, Sagittarius might experience maybe some unusual rebellious activity connected with children or somebody they're in a romantic relationship with, even some ingenious qualities as well. And these people might be acting more unpredictable than usual. And Sagittarius might experience more fluctuations and ups and downs connected with romance and with children at this time, and may also take up maybe some kind of very maybe a Uranus-like hobby at this time, which could be an esoteric subject, which could include astrology. This could be something connected with computers or electronics. It could be like a remote control type thing, maybe astronomy, something that is Uranus-like. It maybe is what Sagittarius might take up as a hobby at this time. So anyway, the next thing up is Neptune will still be in Pisces, so the fourth house will be emphasized and highlighted for Sag at this time. So for Sagittarius at this time, Sagittarius might experience, sadly, a dissipation or dissolving of the home and family life. It could also be confusion over one's foundations and roots as well. And also in matters connected with the end of life and knowing what to, as far as what to do, as far as making preparations, for example, or some kind of investment plans, or where they're going to be in their life at that particular point in time. And in some cases too, this could be a family member or someone Sagittarius feels close to home with that might succumb to some kind of drugs or alcohol use. There could also be matters connected with deception and duplicity with family members at this time. And also in some isolated cases, this could be about perhaps flooding in the home as well at some point in time when this is going on. So anyway, and also too, this is a period too where you look at Neptune and Pisces in the fourth house. This could be too where one might become, a little bit, where family members might seem a little bit more nebulous and unclear than usual, or someone Sagittarius feels close to home with at this time. So anyway, next thing up is Pluto will still be in Capricorn. So the second house will be emphasized and highlighted for Sag. So at this time, I know a lot of you don't want me to say the dreaded D word, but of course I'm going to anyway because it does apply and we are talking about Pluto. In some cases, this could be an actual literal death of maybe somebody that is at the place where Sagittarius generates their income that maybe they're close with. This could also be about maybe a figurative death or it could be obliteration of perhaps some kind of values at this time, or maybe of income. But remember that Pluto is also about regeneration and rebirth, and when something ends with Pluto, can often be supplanted with something else. So if the place where Sagittarius, where they generate their income, if that period comes to an end, likely something else can replace it afterwards. So anyway, also there could be power struggles with people that Sagittarius where they make their money. There could also be more of an obsession and maybe fixation on finances, and even things that could be of a compulsive issue in some isolated cases as well, of things with a monetary nature and their resources and possessions at this time. So anyway, the next thing up is, the North Node will still be in Leo. So the ninth house will be emphasized and highlighted for Sag. So at this time for Sagittarius, when you're talking about the North Node in transit, this could often be about issues that have to be confronted. And this could be about having to confront perhaps an arrogant, domineering, bombastic, and overbearing even in-law, or even some cases a grandchild if applicable. It could be a time too for Sagittarius to take pride and dignity in their higher education. It could be about maybe wanting attention and recognition for something connected with publishing, or even from in-laws and grandchildren, maybe for what they do for them at this time. So anyway, And also about, it could be about having to spend a little bit more money, being extravagant in matters connected with publishing. It could be over maybe taking a long distance trip and traveling abroad, and even matters with higher education as well, where Sagittarius might have to spend a little more than what is necessary, and also being magnanimous and generous in matters with in-laws and grandchildren perhaps at this time as well. Next thing up is the Black Moon Lilith will still be in Capricorn, so the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sag, well, when we're talking about the Black Moon Lilith, it could often be about unveilings and revelations, and at this time it could be about maybe some person or Sagittarius where they make their money at, a person, maybe a co-worker or what have you, might be revealing some kind of very tyrannical, ruthless, or overambitious qualities at this time. And it could even be in some cases where maybe someone at the place they generate their income with might be revealed or unveiled as a formidable adversary, which could in some cases be a sun, moon, or ascendant in Capricorn, or simply somebody that embodies those characteristics. This could also in some cases be a revelation or unveiling of perhaps a very depressing or limiting or restrictive financial situation, or maybe where Sagittarius might really feel like as far as their self-esteem and self-worth goes, where they're really very pessimistic and negative regarding that at this time. It could be something that Sagittarius didn't necessarily want revealed, but for whatever reason winds up being divulged and disclosed. Well, anyway, last but not least, Chiron will still be in Pisces, so the fourth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Sagittarius. So at this time for Sagittarius, well, Sagittarius may be dealing with really some emotional wounds and suffering, perhaps connected with deception and duplicity in one's home and family life with a family member, maybe someone that Sagittarius feels close to home with. It could even be the less dominant parent, which is often the mother. It could also be, too, where Sagittarius might be dealing with somebody in their family or someone they feel close to home with or stays in their home that might be succumbing to some kind of drugs or alcohol addiction at this time. And also, another thing that could be happening too is that it could be some emotional wounds and suffering, perhaps connected with a dissipation and dissolving of the home and of the family life at this time, and maybe dealing with confusion really with what they're going to do as far as maybe getting ready for the end of life. I'm not saying all Sagittarius are going to be getting ready to die at this time. Far from it. I'm talking about mainly in most cases maybe making the preparations for the time for that end of life period and actually being ready for it. And there might be some confusion as to, and things might be nebulous and unclear as far as what to do in terms of getting ready for that point ultimately. So, but at the same time, keep in mind that Chiron is the wounded healer. So in ways where Sagittarius might be going through some suffering and having difficulty helping themselves in this area connected with Chiron and Pisces in the fourth house, they can help others dealing with comparable situations and perhaps do so with a lot of that Pisces-like compassion, self-sacrifice, and empathy. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my Sagittarius March 2018 horoscope forecast. Stay tuned next time where actually I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about astrology and LeBron James in the 2018 NBA offseason. I know a lot of people, sports fans, have speculated on, on what LeBron James might be doing this offseason. I'm going to try to give some insight through astrology as to what perhaps he may do. So anyway, people, Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person astrologically speaking based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.